charm. But beneath the surface of Asheville's charm and the inn's grandeur, a more troubling issue lurks. Something I thought you might find very interesting is that Parkinson's disease is actually something you acquire by being exposed to TCE and PERC chemicals that are in plumes around Asheville's industrial areas and also in Cape Cod, Tucson, Arizona, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, also in California, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, North Carolina. There's a lot of places that have these plumes, but there are also in chemicals and cleaning chemicals that you're exposed to no matter where you live. And I thought that was very interesting, that the fact that, like people I knew that had Parkinson's, they didn't know where they got it, and they're finding out that that's where people are catching it. And that's why the numbers are increasing so much from 1990, where we had 2.6 million, to expecting
It was in typewriter correction
future.
fluid.
It's
It was in
crazy.
your cup of Senka. It was in carpet cleaners, gun cleaners. It's been used by painters, embalmers, anesthetists, mechanics, metal workers, soil into your home, your school, your kids' schools, and your workplaces, and you never know about it. And for years you breathe it in, and years later you're possibly developing Parkinson's.
You know, where did this come from? Trichloroethylene.
So this is it. This is trichloroethylene. It's a really simple molecule.
Describe what I'm looking at.
This is a chemical structure of 6 atoms. So just to give you a flavor for those who don't like chemistry, water, H2O, has 3 atoms. Trichloroethylene has
TCE
6 atoms.
contamination.
It's got 2
Trichloroethylene,
carbon atoms
or
here.
TCE as it's commonly known, is a volatile organic compound that has been widely used as an industrial solvent. In the context of Asheville, this chemical had a significant role in the operations of the city's old manufacturing facilities. It was used for degreasing metal parts, an essential process in manufacturing. But as handy as TCE may have been for industry, it's a different story when it comes to human health and the environment. TCE is classified as a human carcinogen. Long-term exposure to this chemical can lead to serious health complications, one of which is Parkinson's disease, a debilitating neurological disorder that affects movement and motor control. The mere presence of TCE in the environment can pose a risk, as it can easily evaporate into the air or seep into groundwater, becoming a silent, invisible threat to communities. The citizens of Asheville are not oblivious to this lurking danger. The issue of TCE contamination has been a topic of local concern, stirring discussions and prompting action. Various agencies and community groups have been working to address the problem, conducting environmental assessments and cleanup operations. Despite the efforts, however, TCE contamination remains a significant concern. The process of decontaminating an area is complex and time-consuming, and it's a task that requires ongoing commitment and resources. This issue serves as a stark reminder of the broader implications of industrial activity and the legacy it can leave behind. It underscores the importance of environmental responsibility and vigilance, not only in Asheville but in all communities around the world. There are many areas that have significant TCE and PERC concentrations and some in city water supplies. So you can't effectively remove the chemicals from water without a specialized filtration system or a reverse osmosis system. But the reality is, it's in so many chemicals in household products that you want to try to stop exposure. Most countries have outlawed it, but not the United States. So be vigilant. Thank you for watching and take care. TCE contamination is a stark reminder that even in places as beautiful as Asheville, environmental issues can't be ignored.
That has caused cancer for generations.
With this paper, what are you hoping to achieve?
We're hoping to get onto the Larry Gifford's podcast.
Well, you need to dream bigger.
We got to dream bigger. I think we can ban it. Listen, the EPA Administrator Michael Regan came out with this finding in January 2023. TCE contaminates Delaware, President Biden's home state. There are contaminated sites there. Why can't we ban this chemical? Why can't we create a world where childhood leukemia is extremely rare? Why can't we get rid of multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, brain cancers, liver cancers, kidney cancers? Why can't we decrease the number of people who will ever develop Parkinson's disease? Why can't we create a future generation where Parkinson's disease is increasingly rare, not increasingly common?
I want to go back to the plumes of this. Um, I guess it's not a gas. What do we call it? Is it?
I call it like an underground river, and these plumes are huge. So there's one in Long Island from an aerospace manufacturer. You can just Google Long Island trichloroethylene Newsday did a great report, and it's 4 by 2 miles.
Oh my gosh!
4 by 2 miles, and so you're
And
sitting
it's
on
just
top
sort of
of it.
like a cloud under the
Yeah, like
ground.
a cloud, like an underground cloud of TCE and PCE that's evaporating. And homes, schools, and workplaces have like negative pressure. So there's a gas, right? It needs to come up to the surface, right? So it's less dense than the liquid. And the homes have negative pressure relative to the atmosphere around it. So they suck it in. And you can think like an elevator almost acts like a syringe and draws in the chemicals. And it comes in through cracks in the foundations or sewer lines or utility lines or whatever have you. And it gets in, just like radon does. And you breathe it and you don't know. So it's like, you don't even know you're inhaling this chemical. You have no idea. And then you develop Parkinson's disease 30 years later. Just like you. I mean, you didn't like know.
I didn't know about
No.
TCE or paraquat or any of that stuff. You just assume that if it's being regulated by the government you trust.
So
But
I've said this before. I used to trust that the food I eat, the water I drink, and the air I breathe is safe. I no longer have that assumption.
say that again.
I used to think that the food I eat, the water I drink, and the air I breathe is safe. I no longer have that assumption. And, I'm a relatively wealthy doctor hanging out in suburban Rochester, and I don't think that. So what about people who have way less resources than I do? What are they being exposed to?
When
All
can we take
people,
the question mark off your statement, an invisible cause of Parkinson's disease?
I think it is very likely. Now, I'm ahead. My colleagues would argue with me, and the science isn't there. I told you if you do you search the Library of Medicine, there are 26 total articles on trichloroethylene and Parkinson's disease, and that's unconscionable, I think. And that's really a reflection, I think, on the research community and funders that we're not paying attention to things that we should know about. I mean, Carly Tanner and Sam Goldman at UC San Francisco 10 years ago said that did a twin study and looked at twins who had hobby or work exposure to TCE versus those who didn't, and they had a 500% increased risk of developing Parkinson's disease. There are very, 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 very few things that are associated with a 500% increased risk of Parkinson's disease. Quite frankly, I can't think of any.
Ray, we owe you. Thank you for all your work and your dedication to this because it's important stuff.
When Larry Gifford calls, I answer every single time because it is the PD Avengers more than any other group, that stand the chance of changing the course of the trajectory of Parkinson's disease. And all I'm going to do is arm you with anything that you need to change the course of it, because it's people who are most directly affected by the disease who are the most effective spokespeople for it. We know that from Michael J. Fox when he testified to Congress, I think 20 plus years ago. We know that with Davis Finney. We know that with Brian Grant. A call out to Brian Grant, who is profiled in our paper because he was a 3-year-old boy at the Marine base Camp Lejeune when it was contaminated with TCE. 30 years later, Brian Grant, a 3-year-old boy, because he was there with his father, who was a Marine, develops Parkinson's disease. His father later dies from esophageal cancer tied to Parkinson's disease. So people like you, Brian Grant, Davis Finney, Kathy Amy Lindbergh, Michael J. Fox, are changing the course of Parkinson's disease. And I'm delighted and honored to help in any way.
Ray, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks very much, Larry.